So as we finished up the last video, we talked about how order in our conditionals matters if we're using an if, elif, else statement. We have to realize that our computer is going to look for the first statement that's true. So this really isn't the best way to structure our program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of here and we're going to start over and we're going to say, okay, if grade is greater than 90. So it's going to be greater than 90 or it's not. And this is where we're going to say, okay, well, our option here is that we're checking for an A, and if it's true, we want to print you earned an A. So we're going to start off this way instead. Then we're going to go to an elif. We're going to say, well, now if our grade's not greater than 90, let's check that it's greater than 80. And so notice how this is a logical way to set this up. Okay, we checked if our grade was greater than 90. If it is, it will run this code and skip the rest. If it's not, it goes down here. And so we've already checked if it's greater than 90. So now we can check if it's greater than 80. And as we do that, we're checking for B. And here we printed our A message. And then down here, we're going to print you earned B. And as I said before, I like to reuse my code, so I'm going to copy and paste that in here. And I'm going to do checking for a C. So notice I'm being very logical. Greater than 90, that's checked off the list. The next step below would be greater than 80. Now that's checked off the list. The next step below would be greater than 70. Now that's checked off the list. Notice how there's no overlap here because we're already checking, okay, is it filling in the A? Is it filling in the B? Is it filling in the C? So on and so forth. So we have all of our messages going on. This one is for a D. And this last one, you can put an elif in here if you want, or you can just do an else. You can say, well, otherwise they failed. And do print you earned F. So let's test this one out instead. So we're testing out our grade program. I'm going to scroll this up a little bit. So let's try 92. Whew, that one works. Good deal. Now let's try it again. 85. We got B. 74. We got C. 62. We got a D. 48. We got an F. So notice how you have to be smarter than your computer. The order matters. Set it up so that it will find the correct value first. So the last thing we have for your notes is there are a couple more slides here that ask you to predict the output. So here it says num eval input, please enter the numeric value. So what I'm asking you to do here is take each one of these values, and this is printed in your notes. We're going to start with 22. So we're going to assume that 22 was entered in for number, and we're going to go through and we're going to figure out what prints out to the screen if we enter in 22. We enter in 22, we go, it says if number greater than 10. Yes, 22 is greater than 10. So as a result, V will be printed to the screen. Now, remember, your computer is lazy. If it finds this to be true, it's going to skip down to here and move on. Doesn't matter that this makes more logical sense. It runs this code, notices these are all connected by if, elif, and else's, and since it found one that was true, it jumps down and it goes. So what I'd like you to do is take the next minute or two, pause the video, try these next 5 on your own, and then in a second, I'll click to the next screen and you can check your answers. Okay, so I'm hoping that you actually paused the video and looked them through. Noticing here, the first thing for 9, the first conditional that's true is here with 5. With 12, the first conditional that's true is this one with 10. So those ones print W and V respectively. With the -5, we go through and we say, okay, well, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, that is true. So that prints a Y. And with E, we go through and we say, okay, 1, not true, not true, not true, not true. So as a result, we're going to print the else. So something to note here is that this piece of code right here, because the greater than 10 comes first, something is greater than 10, Well, I guess let's reverse that. If something is greater than 20, it's always going to be greater than 10. So this line of code, this X, will never actually print to the screen due to the fact that our computer is just lazy. It's going to run the first piece of that conditional that it finds to be true, not the most logical one. So keep that in mind as you look through your code and I ask you to trace through different values.